Think of puzzle pieces that interlock with each other, forming a single piece when put together. That's exactly the relationship between Ronaldinho and a football. He gives whatever he wants to those who know how to play with it. But when it comes to him, it only brings happiness, both to him and to those watching him. Because when the ball comes to him, it's no longer about playing football. It's a one-man show. The stage is his. The lights only illuminate him. Everyone watches him. And the ball is already his, occasionally lending it to others. They say happiness is contagious. And if you've had the chance to witness it at its best, you have to admit it's true. So why answer the question of how much you can make people happy with a football? Here's your answer, Ronaldinho. Known to us as Ronaldinho, his real name is Ronaldo de Assis Moreira, born on March 21, 1980, in Porto Alegre. Ronaldinho is actually a nickname, and it has a beautiful story behind it. But before getting there, let's look at his childhood years. Like many famous Brazilian footballers, he comes from a poor family. Perhaps like me, you have wondered why many Brazilian footballers come from poor families. The reason is not that Brazil is a poor country, of course. Brazil has been the largest economy in South America for years, but this does not mean that every Brazilian citizen is wealthy. As in many countries, there are areas where poor people live in large numbers. The port city of Porto Alegre, where Ronaldinho was born and raised, was, in his own words, a poor place where drug gangs roamed, or at least the neighborhood where he lived was like that. His father, João, was a welder who worked at the shipyard and had played football in his youth. He had such a great passion for football that he worked at the shipyard during the week and as a security guard at Grêmio's stadium on the weekends. He was both fighting poverty and following the matches. This is how the love of football spread to the family's two children, Roberto and Ronaldo. In other words, it passed directly from Father João to his sons. They had a father who encouraged them to play football at every opportunity, supported them, and even told them how to play. Older brother Roberto was 10 years older than Ronaldo, and at that time, the family's only hope. When Roberto turned 18, he started playing in Grêmio's first team and carried the heavy burden of lifting his family out of poverty as a professional footballer. However, just around that time, something happened that would change Ronaldinho's life. One evening, as usual, after getting tired from chasing the football on the streets, 7-year-old Ronaldinho returned home and noticed a crowd in the kitchen. He felt sad, thinking he had missed his brother Roberto's 18th birthday party. But at birthday parties, everyone is usually cheerful. This was not like that. His mother, whom he was used to seeing always smiling, had tears in her eyes. His brother Roberto picked him up and took him to a place where they could be alone and said, "There was an accident. Dad is gone. He died." This was something a child of that age couldn't comprehend. Ronaldinho thought, "What do you mean he's gone? How could he have gone? When will he come back?" "It took me several years to realize he was never coming back," he says. Some people mature late in life, while others mature early, and what we experience shapes this. Ronaldinho, a little over 10 years old, matured enough to place the football at the center of his life. He didn't do it just for fun or to pass the time. Football was everything to him. "Every time I had the ball at my feet, it was as if my father was with me," he recalls those days. "When the ball came to my feet, I was free and happy, as if I could hear music. And when you feel this emotion, you want to spread it to those around you." In my opinion, this was Ronaldinho's magic. He enjoyed the game so much that his constantly smiling face spread joy around him, making everyone enjoy it as much as he did. With his play, Ronaldinho seemed to start a party and invite everyone, from his teammates to the fans in the stands, even those watching on screens, to join the celebration. "Some people don't understand why I am always smiling," he explained. "I smile because football is fun. Why do you have to be serious? My job is to spread this joy." Ronaldinho was growing up, and following in the footsteps of his brother, whom he idolized in his childhood, joined Grêmio's youth team. In his spare time from training, he continued to play football with his friends, or his brother, of course, until they got tired. But even when they were exhausted, Ronaldinho wouldn't let go of the football. "My dog Bom Bom was a tireless defender," he says. "I would take him and continue playing." In Brazil, even dogs love football, and Bom Bom was a friend on whom I could practice all my dribbling tricks. In fact, I can say he was the first victim of the Elastico. When he was 14, he had the opportunity to watch the 1994 World Cup on television. He watched that magnificent match where Brazil won against Italy in the final through penalty shootouts, and Baggio missed his penalty. Until that day, his only aim was to become a footballer, but after that day, he discovered what he was playing for. He understood better what football meant to Brazilians and realized how this game's power brought happiness even to ordinary people. He now had a goal: to play for the Brazilian national team. Things hadn't gone well for his brother Roberto. Due to a severe injury, he had to leave Grêmio. Roberto didn't have a top-level football career afterward, but Ronaldinho, to put it bluntly, was coming on strong. Just a few months after the final of the 1994 World Cup, one of his coaches at Grêmio called him over and told him he had received an invitation from the Brazil U17 national team. When he turned 18, Ronaldinho wore the Grêmio first-team jersey for the first time. He was now standing in the locker room as a player at the same facilities where his brother had once taken him as a child. In his own words, he had made it. Life couldn't get any better, or so he thought. But for him, the story was just beginning. In June 1999, Ronaldinho achieved his bigger goal. He wore the Brazil national team jersey for the first time in a friendly match against Latvia. In the 3-0 victory, he dazzled the audience with 2 assists to Alex and Ronaldo. Let's get to the nickname issue. It might be a bit confusing, but to put it simply, there were 3 Ronaldos in the Brazil national team at the time. The oldest one, the center-back Ronaldo Rodrigues de Jesus, was called Ronaldinho, which means Big Ronaldo. The second one was Ronaldo Nazario de Lima, known as the Phenomenon, who had taken the nickname Ronaldinho, meaning Little Ronaldo. The youngest Ronaldo, our Ronaldinho, had just joined the team. To distinguish himself, he took the nickname Ronaldinho Gaucho, indicating his origin from the state of Rio Grande do Sul. When the oldest Ronaldo retired, the Phenomenon reclaimed his real name, Ronaldo, while the youngest Ronaldo dropped the Gaucho and simply became known as Ronaldinho. With the new name that would leave a mark on the football world, this gap-toothed boy started wanting more and set new goals for himself. Like most Brazilian national players, he also wanted to prove himself in Europe. Whenever he had the chance, he listened to his idol Ronaldo talk about what it was like to play for Barcelona. Seeing the awards and trophies Ronaldo had won, he understood better what he wanted. "I must do this," he thought. "I must become a part of history." During his 3 seasons at Grêmio, he played 145 matches and scored 72 goals. In the summer of 2001, he transferred to the French team Paris Saint-Germain for a sum of €5 million, an amount laughably small by today's standards, and thus began his European days. With his slightly longer hair and new image, Ronaldinho played for 2 seasons in Paris. At that time, the French team, which had not yet been sold to its current oil-rich owners, was not considered one of the league's strongest. Although Ronaldinho did not win any titles there, he managed to adapt to European football and became the most crucial part of his team. In his first season with Paris Saint-Germain, he played 39 matches, scoring 13 goals and providing 7 assists. Thanks to this performance, he continued to receive occasional call-ups from the Brazilian national team. However, it was uncertain whether he would be included in the 2002 World Cup squad. Even the inclusion of Ronaldo, who was just recovering from an injury, was doubtful. As is well known, Brazil has always had an endless pool of players. Nonetheless, Ronaldinho was one of the youngest 3 players selected by national team coach Luiz Felipe Scolari for the 23-man World Cup squad. Not only was he included in the squad, but he also secured a spot in the starting 11. Anyone who watched that 2002 tournament can likely recite the roster of that Brazilian national team by heart. Ronaldinho was the heartbeat of that team, for me and my peers. Our introduction to Ronaldinho likely coincided with this tournament. Millions of football fans who followed the tournament realized that this kid was the next big thing. Despite starting in the center of midfield, he was everywhere. Left, right, all the balls were finding him, and everyone's eyes were on him. He played short and long passes, received the ball with his back to the goal, and operated nearly the entire front half of the field with his deadly dribbling. He was still a bit raw, perhaps. For instance, the red card he received in the quarterfinal against England could have been costly for Brazil. However, overall, his performances throughout the tournament made him one of the key players. His free kick goal against David Seaman adorned highlight reels for years. Brazil, without losing or even drawing a single match during the tournament, swept the competition, and Ronaldinho's market value skyrocketed. Most of the praise in the World Cup was directed at Ronaldo and Rivaldo. However, as the summer continued, Ronaldinho slowly became the most glamorous product in the football world. With his hair growing longer and tied into a ponytail, he refined his image. He began appearing in Nike commercials, becoming the player that children tried to imitate while playing in the streets, and whose jersey they asked their parents to buy. A commercial he starred in became the first video on YouTube to be viewed by 1 million people, effectively launching the viral era. This alone demonstrates how in demand he was as a footballer. Consequently, it wouldn't take long for him to pack his belongings in Paris. During the 2002-2003 season, he played 37 matches for Paris Saint-Germain, scoring 12 goals and providing 10 assists, capturing the attention of the world's top clubs. That same year, Barcelona suffered their worst performance in recent history, finishing 22 points behind the champions Real Madrid. White handkerchiefs were waved in the stands. A change was desperately needed. Frank Rijkaard was brought in as the new head coach, and the club parted ways with players like Frank de Boer and Riquelme. They strengthened the squad with signings like Ricardo Quaresma, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, Rafael Marquez, and Rustu Retsberg, but none of these were enough. The club needed more positive energy. For this reason, the main highlight of that summer was Ronaldinho. Barcelona signed Ronaldinho for $30 million on a 5-year contract and introduced him to the press. The signing ceremony was attended by 30,000 fans watching live from the stands. For those who may not remember, at the beginning of the 2000s, Real Madrid was the dominant force in Spanish football. Barcelona had only gained momentum during Johan Cruyff's era in the 90s, but that didn't last long. At the start of the 2003-2004 season, Real Madrid had twice as many championships as Barcelona. To say Ronaldinho's arrival immediately sparked championship expectations might be an overstatement, but Barcelona aimed to return to Cruyff's total football philosophy with Rijkaard and to captivate the fans with Ronaldinho. When we look at that team, it seems like they were built purely to play visually appealing football. Indeed, Barcelona didn't win any trophies that season, but even though they finished second behind Valencia, the football they played gave everyone hope for the future. The following year, Barcelona began to build on the foundation they had established, continuing their transformation. Philip Cocu, Kluivert, Overmars, and Luis Enrique were let go, dismantling the core squad that had been in place for years. They formed a new backbone with signings like Deco, Samuel Eto'o, and Juli, and with players gradually integrated into the starting lineup from La Masia, such as Victor Valdés, Andrés Iniesta, Xavi, Puyol, and Thiago Motta. The 2004-2005 season marked the beginning of Ronaldinho's transition from being a highly talented player to becoming the best footballer in the world. I don't know how many players have made you feel this way before, but for me, Ronaldinho was the first since Ronaldo to evoke such a feeling. Football is, of course, a team game, but what Ronaldinho brought to the field was so distinct from the other 10 players that you would watch Barcelona just to see him, even if you didn't support the team. Ronaldinho has won the World Cup, league titles, and the Ballon d'Or in his career, but he believes his greatest achievement is transforming Barcelona with his style of play. Young kids now dream of playing in the Barcelona style. Barcelona has always played a fluid, pass-heavy game, but Ronaldinho's solo performances stood out so much within this system that it was impossible to stop him. Without forcing the game or dictating it, he simply waited for his teammates to pass him the ball. And from the moment he received it, everything he did seemed so natural. Rather than disrupting the team's chemistry, his individualistic style of play meshed perfectly with the team. I think some credit also goes to Ricard for designing the game plan to maximize Ronaldinho's talents.
Ronaldinho's style was truly unique, and it's hard to imagine seeing someone like him again. He played football not just with his feet, but with his entire body and soul, like an artist. By combining football and samba, he created mesmerizing moments on the field. His greatest magic was playing without the airs of a star player, simply to be happy and to spread that happiness, as he himself described it. His joy and ease on the field inspired viewers and redefined football as a form of entertainment and art. Players like Ronaldinho are rare, and it's difficult to see his style being replicated. That season, under Ronaldinho's leadership, the Catalan team not only played beautiful football, but also adopted the identity of a winning team. Compared to the previous season, they accumulated 14 more points, showing significant improvement. In the El Clasico, played at Camp Nou, they demolished Real Madrid with a 3-0 victory. By the end of the season, they clinched the championship with 84 points, finishing 4 points ahead of Real Madrid. Despite this championship coming after a 5-year drought, they were knocked out of the Champions League in the round of 16 by Mourinho's Chelsea. Ronaldinho, especially with his performance at Stamford Bridge, where he scored a spectacular goal that left Peter Cech helpless, did everything he could. However, the English side advanced by winning the return leg 4-2 in England after losing 2-1 in the first match. At the end of the season, Ronaldinho was awarded the Ballon d'Or for the first time in his career and also received the FIFA World Player of the Year award. The following year, Barcelona didn't make any significant signings except for Marc van Bommel. However, an 18-year-old Argentine from La Masia joined the squad. It was evident that this youngster had something special, much like Ronaldinho. He seemed a bit unusual, but it was too early for him to fully take the stage. Ronaldinho shifted into fifth gear during the 2005-2006 season. He played as if he wanted to prove to the world that he was the best, perhaps making it indisputable. He had a career year, scoring 17 goals and providing 18 assists in 29 league matches. Not only did he win his second consecutive championship, but he also changed the course of football in Spain. In the 3-0 victory at Santiago Bernabeu, he put on such a show that even Real Madrid fans had to admit that Barcelona was now the better team, as long as Ronaldinho was there. When he scored the final goal of the match, the Madrid supporters gave him a standing ovation. In the Champions League, their round of 16 opponent was once again Mourinho's Chelsea, just like the previous year. Barcelona had been the favorites in this round last season as well, but the English team managed to pull off a surprise. This time, Ronaldinho had no intention of allowing any surprises. Mourinho had intentionally ruined the pitch at Stamford Bridge, turning it into a potato field to make things difficult for Barcelona's technical players, especially Ronaldinho. Despite this, Barcelona returned with a 2-1 victory away, putting the advantage in their pocket. The match in Spain ended in a 1-1 draw, with a fantastic goal from Ronaldinho and a penalty by Frank Lampard, allowing Barcelona to advance and exact their revenge. In the quarter-finals, they faced Benfica, and in the semi-finals, Milan. Barca did not concede a goal in these 4 matches, defeating the Portuguese side 2-0 and winning 1-0 against Milan away, setting up a final clash against Thierry Henry's Arsenal. In the 17th minute of the final, Ronaldinho delivered a magnificent through ball to Eto'o, who was brought down by Lehmann, resulting in the goalkeeper's dismissal. However, despite being down to 10 men, Arsenal took the lead in the 37th minute through Sol Campbell. The second half was almost entirely played inside Arsenal's penalty area, and it was only a matter of time before the English team's defense would crumble. In the 76th minute, Eto'o stepped up and scored the equalizer. Then, in the 81st minute, Belletti stormed down the right flank into the box and scored the winner. 3 years after laying the foundations of this new team, Barcelona achieved a double by winning both La Liga and the Champions League. Ronaldinho cemented his reign with 26 goals and 24 assists in 43 matches throughout the season. As the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, Ronaldinho was set to shine at the 2006 World Cup. After his triumphs in La Liga and the Champions League, winning the World Cup in the same season would not only give him an unparalleled collection of titles, but also secure his dominance over individual awards. People even joked that Ronaldinho should be banned from the World Cup to make the tournament fairer. However, the 2006 World Cup marked the beginning of a downturn in Ronaldinho's career. The Brazilian national team was, of course, not as strong as it had been in 2002. Rivaldo was no longer there. Cafu was 36, Roberto Carlos was 33, and Ronaldo was going through a period of excessive weight gain following injuries. As for Ronaldinho, everyone expected him to be the player who would carry the team, just as he had done for Barcelona. But the ideal environment seemed absent in Brazil. Even so, the team, with its sheer quality, advanced through the group stage without a loss, and overcame Ghana in the round of 16. However, the football they played failed to impress, and Ronaldinho was far from his best. Everything came down to the quarterfinal against France. Ronaldinho would either fade into obscurity, or Brazil would show its true strength. Throughout the match, France suffocated Brazil's attackers with their formidable defense and midfield. Meanwhile, Zinedine Zidane and Thierry Henry delivered stellar performances that night. Unfortunately, the 2006 World Cup became Ronaldinho's last at the age of just 26. After the disappointment of the World Cup, Ronaldinho had a chance to rise again, and he made the most of it. He had his highest scoring season, netting 21 goals. However, once people see you as the best in the world, their expectations skyrocket, and maintaining that level becomes incredibly difficult. He was still the team's most special player, but he was no longer the only special one. Throughout the season, Barcelona was locked in a fierce battle with Real Madrid for the title. But with just 1 week left in the league, a draw in the Catalan derby dealt a huge blow to their title hopes. Despite being level on points, they finished second due to an inferior head-to-head record with Real Madrid. In the Champions League, they were unexpectedly eliminated by Liverpool in the round of 16, which naturally made Ronaldinho the target of criticism. Whether or not he was aware of the club's future plans for him is unclear, but the 2007 to 2008 season was his last chance at Barcelona. The big question was whether he still had the hunger to return to the top. In the previous 4 years, he had won everything a footballer could win. It's easy to blame him for not wanting more, or for being a little undisciplined and perhaps too fond of fun, like many of his compatriots. But that wasn't the whole story. Ronaldinho suffered a torn muscle that kept him out for about 3.5 months that season. For the past 4 years, Ronaldinho's importance to Barcelona was so immense that it would have been unthinkable to leave him out if not for the injury. But during his absence, another star emerged, Lionel Messi. Having just turned 20, Messi's playing time was increasing, and it was in the best interest of both Messi and the club. By the time Ronaldinho returned from injury, Barcelona had already fallen out of contention. They finished the season 18 points behind champions Real Madrid in 3rd place, marking their worst performance in 5 years. Ronaldinho's time at Barcelona was like a dream, the kind of dream that, upon waking, you wish could continue from where it left off. But dreams never continue. That dream was over. Ronaldinho transferred to Italian giants AC Milan in July 2008 for a fee of 24 million euros. This move was seen as a reasonable choice at the time. While Milan may not have been the biggest club in the world, it was still a club steeped in history and tradition, having won the Champions League just 2 years earlier. Ronaldinho was set to work under the experienced coach Carlo Ancelotti. But Milan's squad had some significant issues. Apart from Kaká, all the players had either passed their prime or had yet to reach it. Ronaldinho, too, was no longer at his best. Additionally, the league he was playing in attracted far less attention than in previous years, and new stars were emerging in the world of football. People always love new heroes, and this shift caused Ronaldinho's popularity to wane. Nevertheless, it wouldn't be fair to label Ronaldinho's 2.5 years at Milan as a failure. First of all, he had come back from a serious injury and was no longer as agile or quick as he once was. Furthermore, Serie A wasn't the ideal league for showcasing his trademark dribbling skills. However, during this period, Ronaldinho revealed his playmaking abilities, which he hadn't needed to utilize much at Barcelona. His athleticism had declined and he couldn't reach the goal as quickly as before. But his incredible vision and passing ability allowed him to become more of a team player, a true orchestrator. Still, neither Ronaldinho's efforts nor those of his teammates were enough to bring success to Milan, who were gradually losing ground. At the end of the season, Ancelotti departed, and Kaká made his way to Real Madrid. With Kaká gone, Ronaldinho took full control of the team and began showing flashes of his old brilliance. In the 2009 to 2010 season, he played nearly every game, scoring 12 goals and providing 18 assists in 36 league matches, helping Milan secure a spot in the Champions League, though they still ended the season without any silverware. During this time, Brazil's national team coach, Dunga, decided not to include Ronaldinho in the 2010 World Cup squad. This proved to be a turning point for him. It seemed as though Ronaldinho had lost his desire to compete at the highest level. Meanwhile, Milan's management was focused on rejuvenating the team, and with key signings like Robinho and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, they grew less concerned about Ronaldinho's departure. As a result, his time at Milan came to an end sooner than expected. In January 2011, at the age of 30, Ronaldinho began looking for a new club. Despite still having plenty to offer, he returned home to Brazil, joining Flamengo for a fee of 3 million euros. After returning to Brazil, Ronaldinho played for Flamengo and later Atlético Mineiro. In 2013, he added another achievement to his career by winning the Copa Libertadores with Atlético Mineiro. This victory re-established him as a legendary figure for football fans in South America. However, Ronaldinho's life was marked not only by success on the pitch, but also by off-field incidents that drew attention. In 2020, Ronaldinho and his brother Roberto de Assis were arrested for attempting to enter Paraguay with fake passports. The two were detained in Paraguay and sentenced to around 5 months in prison. Ronaldinho faced this period with remarkable patience and calmness, never losing his love for football. While in prison, he participated in football tournaments, even becoming part of a team that won one of these tournaments, once again showcasing his immense talent. We all experience ups and downs in life. Ronaldinho's rise was incredibly fast, but his fall was a slow and painful process for those who admired him. Many of us found it hard to accept that he was no longer as good as he once was. That's why I prefer to say, after reaching the top, he got bored and decided not to be that great anymore. It felt like Ronaldinho was sent to this world on a secret mission to make people love football. He did that so well that no matter how we see him now, most of us still feel as if he never really left football, and that's how we remember him. In 2017, Ronaldinho wrote a letter to his 8-year-old self, expressing what football meant to him. He said, "Dear 8-year-old Ronaldinho, when Dad leaves this world, your family won't have enough money to buy a video camera, so you won't see him again or even hear his voice. The only memory you will have is a photo, a picture of you two playing football. He's watching you with a smile while you've got the ball at your feet. The only advice I can give you is to always play the way Dad taught you, with joy and freedom."